Hey, whatever happened to AOC and Cori Bush? You remember that movie, Knock Down the House, that showed those two and two other candidates, and then they miraculously won. And then did they ever get their goals accomplished? Well, if you watch the Young Turks regularly, you might have some answer to that question. But there's a whole new movie about the entire answer to that question, and it's called To the End. And the filmmaker behind both movies, Rachel Lears, joins us now. Rachel, welcome.
Thank you so much, Cenk. It's great to be here.
Great to have you. All right, so Rachel, I'm going to show a quick half of a trailer here to give people a sense of what the movie's about, and then we'll come and talk about the politics of it and how you made it as well. So let's watch.
Fighting for change politically requires faith.
We are building an army of young people to stop the climate crisis and create millions of good jobs for our generation.
Everyone wants to talk about this dispassionately, but this is the world that I will raise my kids in.
The more centrist wing is arguing that they want to maintain the status quo.
Ain't nobody gonna keep us down.
This is going to be the moonshot of our generation.
Moments of crisis crack open the window of possibility.
Sometimes I feel like my job is to get my hands dirty. You're not gonna trick us. Hell no.
Now is the time to leverage our power. We have tens of thousands of new people joining.
We're in the battle for the soul of the Democratic Party. Make them feel like they're gonna lose their seats if they don't support this.
As long as there are people that you can poison without consequence, there will always be a loophole that the fossil fuel industry can exploit.
All right, well, that looks like a cast of characters you might see on the Young Turks on any given week. So Rachel, for the folks who don't know, tell us real quick, who are the four people you've followed and knocked down the house, and how did that lead to this movie?
Yeah, so in Knock Down the House, we followed Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Cori Bush, Amy Vilela, and Paula Jean Swearengin in their insurgent congressional campaigns in 2018. And as all your viewers know, I'm sure, that year AOC won her primary and of course her seat. And in the fall of 2018, when we were in post-production for Knock Down the House, we started having conversations about this film. And that was the fall that the really shocking UN IPCC report came out, stating that the world needs to make rapid, far-reaching, and unprecedented changes to all aspects of society by the year 2030 in order to avoid the most catastrophic effects of the climate crisis. So that really galvanized me to make my next film about climate issues. And of course, right around the same time, AOC and the Sunrise Movement collaborated on bringing the Green New Deal to the national consciousness, and that really exploded. And so very quickly, the film coalesced around another four remarkable women. We continued working with Representative Ocasio-Cortez. We also worked with Alexandra Rojas, the executive director of the Justice Democrats, who we had also known since late 2016 when we started developing Knock Down the House, as well as Varshini Prakash, the ED of Sunrise Movement, and Rihanna Gunn Wright, who is the director of climate policy at the Roosevelt Institute. So I hope some of your viewers are familiar with all of these folks. I'm sure they have all been on TYT. And those are there at the time, they were some of the main people and organizations working on the Green New Deal. Of course, over the last few years, they built a much larger coalition, and really brought in now the vision of the Green New Deal, whether you're going to call it by that name or not, the general vision of rapid decarbonization paired with equity and justice, and making economic and racial justice part of the solution. That's really the main, it's a centerpiece of the progressive movement in the United States.
Yeah, we don't call it a Green New Deal anymore. We call it something about inflation. Not quite sure why, but all right. So Rachel, you're involved in politics in that you have been documenting it now for at least 6 straight years. But you were not directly involved in any campaigns or elections yourself. You're not in that field. You're a director and producer. So when you went to cover AOC and Cori Bush, et cetera, I'm sure that they were hopeful and optimistic, but then it was such a wonderful shock that AOC wound up beating Joe Crowley. It was one of the greatest political upsets in American history, very, very literally, right? I'm curious what you learned from this next movie, where you then saw basically and documented how the sausage is made. Were you also pleasantly surprised at that, or horrified and dispirited?
Great question. Well, first of all, I was part of Occupy Wall Street, actually, on the ground in the media group. So in that sense, I have had some experience organizing, but you're right, I haven't worked on electoral campaigns in that sense, except as this participant observer, in a sense of being around all these campaigns. So yeah, the original idea for this film was really to look at to continue asking, as we had asked in Knock Down the House, how do politically impossible things become possible? So continuing to explore that question, but also really to look at what's it like when a movement has a couple feet inside the doors of the halls of power, where it was this moment for all of the protagonists when we started following them and the Green New Deal was exploding back in early 2019, that they had more power than they'd ever had before, or than they ever expected to have, but still not enough to completely achieve all of their goals, set the agenda. So what we watch over the course of the following 4 years is not just how the sausage is made, but really how they use the leverage that they have, the disappointments, the role, the emotional roller coaster of trying to get major climate policy passed. And we do end with the Inflation Reduction Act, which of course is the first major climate policy in US history. We try to treat that with a nuanced ending, because it's not the Green New Deal, it's not the full vision, it's not gonna stop the climate crisis or even come close to it. It's very disappointing to environmental justice advocates. And the folks in the film all have slightly different reactions to it. So, but what we do show is that nothing like that would have been possible without the movement. So we really want to highlight that, this is how individuals can become part of paradigm shifting change, is to join a movement in any of these lanes or in whatever capacity you have, to become part of that collectively.
So for a long time, and as you were actually wrapping up the movie, it appeared that they were not going to pass anything. So there was a ton of hope about Build Back Better and Green New Deal. A big part of it was in Build Back Better. Not all of it, but a big part of it, right? A much bigger part than in the Inflation Reduction Act. And then those hopes were dashed, and it looked like until the very last moment that nothing was going to pass. At that point, how frustrated were you? And both I suppose at the project, I'm sure on a personal level, you're very frustrated. That's kind of easier, but at the process and how hard it is to get change done in American politics, especially.
I was extremely frustrated, as I'm sure you were, and all of us that were following this. It was deeply disheartening, to say the least. We actually premiered to the end at Sundance in January 2022. We were in post-production when Joe Manchin did his thing, killed the bill live on Fox News, and we had to rush to incorporate that into our edit. So it was just a really dark time. I think the first few months of this year, and for much of this year, it really looked like this potentially unique window of the Democrats controlling all three, the House, the Senate, and the presidency, that it wasn't going to be possible to pass anything. And after all that had happened, what an enormous disappointment and missed opportunity that would have been. It's just, you can't even put it into words. So I felt I found myself actually really questioning the utility of engaging with electoral politics and institutions, and I think that's a healthy skepticism that we have to keep about the things that are broken about our political system. But I also think that it's important. The system looks a lot less broken when it is doing things, and so now we're very happy to have the ending that we have with something major happening, because I think it's really it helps people see just how important it is to keep engaging, because as Varshini says in the film, our enemy, referring to the fossil fuel industry, is busy putting together their political strategy every second of every day and pouring billions of dollars into making it happen. So we've got to do what we can.
So, look, I have to confess that I never thought any of this was going to pass, except the Inflation Reduction Act at the end. It's convenient to say, but they were going to pass some sort of scraps so that people weren't furious. But it was always going to be scraps and things that go mainly to corporations. That's how politics works. But I've known that for a long, long time. I am curious, the people involved, the activists, the Congress people, et cetera, did they think it was going to pass? Were they surprised to find out that the corruption in government is deeper than they realized?
I think everyone saw what was happening. It was kind of a slow decline. And lobbyists were chipping away at the bill through 2021, and it was very clear that it was going to be much reduced from the original vision. I don't think that people expected Manchin not to be on board with it, because all signs were pointing to the that he was, but and so I think it's really been quite a journey this past year, sort of in managing the emotions around this as it looks like things become possible or shift in and out of the realm of possibility. And I think what we really want to do with the film, and what all of the protagonists are trying to do, is fight the comfort of cynicism, because it's really easy to believe that nothing is possible, and then you don't have to engage with it. I've been there myself. There are lots of good reasons for that, but for this and all of the other major progressive issues that affect our lives, it sounds corny, but I feel like I don't have the luxury of cynicism. I got a 6-year-old kid. I have to believe that another world is possible, and we can build it.
So, good news. The answer is somewhere in the middle. So exactly. I'm the most optimistic man in the world, so I would never entertain cynicism. At the same time, it was like, we're lucky to get scraps. I think that one of the reasons I want to watch the movie, Rachel, is because I want to see what life inside the bubble is. Because outside the bubble, honestly, we knew it wasn't going to pass. And that's not coming from cynicism. It's coming from the acknowledgement that the system is systemically corrupt. And the fact that people don't recognize that is so frustrating to us outsiders. So that doesn't mean you can't change it. It just means that you have to start with money in politics. Otherwise, you're going to lose on every other issue.
Absolutely, I agree completely, and that's very much the I think a perspective that we're trying to give voice to in the film. It's not about naive optimism; it's about militant optimism and belief in the possibility that transformative change is possible. Not in the sense that the political system's going to function perfectly, but that we have to engage with it to some degree, as long as we have it, laying the groundwork for whatever comes next. There could be big changes to our political system one day, and maybe we'll have a different ground to play on. But for now, this is the system we've got. And what we show in the film is this really, it's an interesting coordinated inside-outside organizing strategy where some people are working, you've got Ocasio-Cortez inside government and the Sunrise Movement outside of it, as well as Rihanna Gunn-Wright trying to get the ideas from the outside to the inside, and Justice Democrats trying to get people from the outside to the inside. So in those strategies, there is room to move the system as far as it can go, which isn't as far as we'd like, but it's an important fight to fight, and I think it's really it's really incredible to watch these people and their determination, as well as a clear-eyed observance of the obstacles, particularly money in politics, which is absolutely agree that is the obstacle.
Yeah, that is the one and major obstacle. If we get past that, you can get a lot of goals. So Rachel, last thing is, where can people see the movie?
Yeah, it's opening in 120 theaters on Friday across the country. You can go to our website, totheendfilm.com, to see a listing of theaters and links to buy tickets. Please come out and support. This is an independent release with Roadside Attractions, great indie distributor, and we'd love to see people in theaters just to share it collectively and support local theaters as well. So hope people come out this weekend.
Plus, you get the movie popcorn. It's hard to argue with that. All right, Rachel Lears, The Movies to the End. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jake. Appreciate it too.